Welcome to this afternoon's keynote at WESTWEEK 2013, How to Be Asked Back to the Party, The Art of Repeat Business. This topic should appeal to everyone across the board, from the emerging designer to the well-established stars of design. Getting repeat business in this highly competitive field of ours is truly an art all its own. We hope that you enjoy today's panel, which we are proud to say is presented by E Entertainment Television and the ASID. Following our talk today, we look forward to seeing you all at our reception on the first floor of the Blue Building, A. Rudin Showroom. That's first floor Blue. You go downstairs, across the way. Now I'd like to turn this over to Kate Fern, the president of ASID, so she can introduce you to our prestigious panel. Thank you.
Okay, this is great. It's standing room only.
Ooh.
Isn't that wonderful? Welcome to everyone. I'm Kat Fern, president of the Los Angeles chapter of the American Society of Interior Designers. We are pleased to have been asked back for repeat business to the PDC for our keynote address again this year. What I wanted to say about ASID is that today, those of you who are among our 1,300 members will enjoy hearing about the work and successes of our colleagues on this panel. And the design community here at Westwood, the design community here at Westwood will hear and see that ASID is indeed at the core of the Los Angeles Design Network. We want you to think ASID when you think interior design. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our illustrious panelists, interior designer Monique.
What happened? Microphone check.
Lafia, Lafia Arvin, I'll say it again.
Yeah, we're all
Monique Lafia,
Yay!
Lafia Arvin Design, general contractor Gary Drake of Drake Construction, Courtney Thorne-Smith, talented actress who made her indelible mark on Melrose Place, and Ally McBeal, and most recently, 2.5 Men, and our moderator, from the Emmy Award, when she is the Emmy.
That's okay.
Journalist.
Oh.
I know it's working.
From E Entertainment, recently named by LA Times as one of the top 10 up-and-coming broadcasters in entertainment. I also want to thank Margaret Dunn, Charles Cohen, and James Munn of the Pacific Design Center for hosting us, and give a special thanks to Chris Arvin, who helped produce this event, and to A. Rudin, who is sponsoring our reception on the first floor. Thank you also to the brilliant and irrepressible Christine Anderson of who orchestrated this event today, and to Cheryl Fleischer for helping us put all this together. Now, I'm turning it over to Kat. It's all yours.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, other Kat. I appreciate that. Thank you for that lovely introduction. Can you guys hear me okay? Yes, okay. Thank you, first of all, for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm kind of playing hooky from E! News today, so it's a nice welcome change to not be talking about Lindsay Lohan and Justin Bieber for once. I'm not gonna lie. So thanks for having me. How's our panel? We doing okay?
Great.
Are you guys ready to
Good.
get this started?
Yes.
Okay, the
Ready.
theme of today is obviously the art of repeat business. So Courtney, we're gonna start with you.
Great.
Word is that you have exquisite taste. Okay, I haven't gotten the invitation to come over for dinner to be the judge of that yet. So we're going to start with you, just, I guess, starting from the beginning, the process of finding a designer and establishing that relationship. How does that work?
Well, I think I found Monique how most people find their designer through a friend. I saw a friend whose home I loved, and I said, "Who helped you?" And she said, "Monique." And that was, you said 16 years ago?
Yeah, 16 years ago.
16 and several houses ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
it was obviously, or has been, a happy marriage because you guys are still together.
Very happy marriage.
Which isn't always the case when it comes to the client and designer and builder relationship. So what has been the key for you in the happy marriage? What has made this for you a lasting relationship?
I think what's so great about Monique, in addition to the fact she's become a friend, obviously, but she listens to me. I always felt like she heard me, and she tried to get to what I wanted. Like I said, look, it's a beautiful home. I want dogs on the couch. I need fabric that can withstand that. So she didn't sell me, white silk. She really heard what I wanted. When we just redid my house, I wanted more light. So everything's open and bright and light. So I think that's the most important thing, that I feel like she can bring my vision to the fore. And she knows, like when she brings me a pile of fabrics, they're all within the realm of what I want. It's not like, wait, what? Orange velvet? What? There's never, like she heard me and she's whittled down the 8,000 fabrics on the wall to 30 that will work for me, and then we work from there. So that's what she does. She whittles me down.
What, is that funny? 8,000 to 30? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Of all the things, of all the elements that go into interior design, or for you, what is most important?
Well, I'm a homebody. I like to walk into my house and feel like, and I do. What Monique does is, when I tried to do my own houses, it was always off. Like you'd walk in and it didn't feel comfortable. When I walk into my home now, I just feel relaxed. And everybody says that when we walk into my home. It's so comfortable. And it's beautiful. I mean, it's aesthetically beautiful, but you can sit everywhere. And it works for dinner parties. And it works to have friends staying overnight. It works, every room in my house now is usable. My husband and I hang out in our bedroom, which we never did before, but now it's a usable room, and the living room is usable. Everything works for us, and that's important to me. I don't want the room you never go into.
Right. Even with good marriages, there are hiccups and some bumps along the way, right? So has there ever been a time for you and Monique in the 16 years where, you didn't always agree, and how did you resolve that? What's the key to kind of getting through those moments?
I'm trying to think of a time
Anything, Monique, that comes to mind for you?
We haven't agreed.
Well, no, basically recently Courtney wanted to change her home and to make it more, like you said, comfortable, and also take a beautiful Empire chaise lounge that you bought probably 12 years ago at Melrose House and use more transitional fabrics, kind of bring it a little more contemporary, traditional, but yet we're calling more transitional now. So we were agreeable on that. I was excited when Courtney came to me and she said, I want to reupholster this piece, and we actually use more geometric patterns as opposed to a damask chenille, just to update it. I thought that was a great idea.
Well, that was great too, because one of the things Monique did is when we started 15 years ago, she talked me to great pieces. That's where we disagreed. I'm like, that costs what?
Exactly.
And that was shocking. And then you totally nailed me, because she'd show me this my bed. Show me this gorgeous bed, and I'd say, that's crazy. Then she'd show me this horrible thing. Go, well, you could get that. So she sort of trapped me. But 15 years later, it's still gorgeous. And we've recovered that sofa 3 times. I haven't had to buy anything new, because these pieces are so gorgeous. And recovering is so much easier and less expensive than buying new. So that's one thing that I learned from her. In terms of, one time we did have a conflict. It wasn't even really a conflict. When I moved into my house I've been in for 15 years, and she called me one day and she said, your furniture's coming today. So I was like, oh my God, my furniture's coming. I came home, and in this big room there was a couch. I was like, you need to manage my expectations. You need to say, there's a piece of furniture coming. Because I thought it would be like a design show, right? And it would be done. And there was a couch in the middle of this huge empty room. That was one thing. So you got to manage it for me.
That's amazing.
Right.
So communication is obviously key.
It's very important.
The key, also, like you're saying, managing expectations, and also Courtney now understands when they say, oh, it's a short lead time, it's 8 weeks as opposed to 18 weeks, which now is pretty standard in the industry. In stock means about 6 weeks, as opposed to in stock is not the next day, it'll be at your home.
Right.
Yeah.
But communication being key, but also listening, obviously, for you, and you too as well, Gary, listening to your clients has to be so much of what works. If you want the job once, that's one thing. But if you want to come back and get that repeat business and that, to establish that long-term relationship, why is listening so important?
I think the key is kind of just kind of stepping back and really talking to the client, getting to know their lifestyle, not my lifestyle, what I'm expecting them to live, and just kind of listening, just saying, okay, what's really important here, prioritizing. I want to allocate my resources in, let's say, the family room and not spend as much in the entry or a guest room or something like that. So listening is important because I might have a totally different priority, wanting to put Venetian plaster, and which costs $20,000-$30,000, and they want to do flat paint.
Right.
Which is, I think it's really just treating everyone with respect and thinking of yourself. If you were a client, it could be a little intimidating coming to a designer. How do you kind of even approach that? Meeting a designer, like you're saying, it came through a friend.
Yeah, and that's hugely important what Monique said, because I have to be able to say, you don't want to just say, oh, I can spend anything, so do anything, because then you feel really important. But be able to say, okay, here I want to spend money, like on my house I want to spend money, but I have a guest house that we did, and I said, I really have a very limited budget here. That's not where I want to put my money. And Monique heard me and came in exactly under budget. It didn't take much time, and I loved that I could say, this is not where I want to spend that money. And she took me to a certain store, and we did it. It looks great. It doesn't need to be as durable as my main house, because it almost never gets used. So that was great, to really listen to your client and their budget and to go, okay, well, that's my framework, and really work within that. Because now I trust her to go back to her again and again and again. If she'd come in over budget on that, I would have thought, I don't want to have to keep saying that's too much. That's embarrassing for me.
Right.
I'm be able to say, this is my budget here, and have it heard the first time, and then I feel I can trust her. Which
She's
it is.
listening.
Exactly. And also the ability to say no when a client shows you something that they happen to love, or it's just kind of not the right direction that they're going in for the project. Carefully and delicately, just to say, I think you're better off going to the left, not to the right, and then kind of explaining why. And like you're saying with your bed, that beautiful flame mahogany bed, which she could have gotten pine and it would have cost half the price, but then she probably would have replaced
Less than
it.
half the price.
Exactly. Okay, what can I say? I have good taste. That's the other thing. It's important that a client has good taste, and Courtney does have impeccable taste.
But Monique will say, if I give her an idea, she'll go, that's a great idea, or.
The famous or line, and there's 10 other options.
But you speak about the bed. What about this, the documentation of the whole process? Because sometimes these things can take years upon years, and a client may think on a certain Tuesday that color will work for them, and then you come back, you get it, it's all done a year later, and they say, I never approved that color. That's another dicey part of the process, I would imagine.
Well, I think like you're saying, having that open and honest communication, and in my case, because I do bring 8,000 fabrics and narrow it down to 30 or 300, I typically have the client initial the fabric and I put a date on it. So when I go back to my office and I have all the fabrics, I can kind of, I remember you have to organize it like anything in life, you just organize it.
Does that happen though? Do clients ever go, wait, I don't remember liking that, because so much time goes by?
Fortunately, it's the other way. Oh, I love it. I forgot. It's so beautiful. Like when Courtney got her rug, her
Right.
Coton rug, and the Tabriz rug for her dining room, which I
Yes.
became obsessed about getting for myself, which does happen. It was like, I love it, and also when, she's so excited, so it's kind of infectious when the client is so happy, they're so excited, especially they've waited so long.
Right.
So it's here, it's finally here, it's like a birthday party. She's still waiting for items now, by the way, but they're coming.
Sometimes the design business has kind of been compared to like a movie production. There's the start, there's the middle, and the finish. Can you understand that comparison between the whole process of designing your home and what it's like to work on a set?
Design is a lot more fun. Because
Doesn't feel like work?
nobody makes me put on makeup, and they don't make me say things I don't want to say.
Oh.
It's a lot more fun. No, it's so purely creative for me, and it's so much fun. And also, they pay me to act, and I pay Monique to design. So it's really backwards for me.
Before we get to you, we haven't forgotten about you, Gary. Poor Gary. We're getting to you, Gary,
No.
in just a minute. But any advice that you would give people that perhaps are for the very first time enlisting, a designer, and they want to create that long-term relationship? Any advice you'd give them in establishing that from the start?
Wow, I would say just pay attention. Are you being listened to? Are you being heard? Bring pictures. Do you have the same design aesthetic? I saw Monique's book, and I'd seen a friend whose house I really liked. And if they're doing a completely different design, if they do all really modern black and white, and you want a homey sort of country feel, maybe you want to rethink it, because you don't want somebody working against their taste. When Monique and I found that rug, and she was like, I want this rug. I was like, ding! It's so exciting, because we have the same ideas, and so that helps. You want somebody you're simpatico with because it's a relationship, hopefully a long-term relationship.
Very good. Feel free to continue to chime in, but this goes to you, both Gary and Monique. When you're establishing that relationship with the client, what are the most important issues from the start for both of you?
Well, you've already hit on it. I mean, listening. I mean, I have a lot more people to listen to, it seems like. The designer, the architect, the homeowners, or the client, the owner's reps, the personal assistants, the bodyguards.
And the butler, don't forget the butler.
Well, let me interject because to list your resume here a little bit, you have renovated homes for Madonna, Sting, Jim Carrey, a lot of high-profile clients that you have. So you're often working with a whole slew of people to get any project done.
Correct.
So it's not just one person.
So yeah, so you try to find out who really to listen to, and then you mentioned documentation. I mean, I remember on the Madonna project where her bodyguard, laid out all this information in her gym where these hooks had to be for this contraption that hangs from the ceiling, and then we finally had it all documented, and then the personal assistant arrived. Well, it wasn't a personal assistant. She was the manager of all the personal assistants.
Oh my God.
So it even gets more. So I mean, we went back and forth as to where these eye hooks should be, and I would show her this is on the drawings. We need to follow this, and she said, well, I need to see into the future for Madonna, so we need to do it this way. And so finally, I realized she wasn't going to sway over to my side, and I said, okay, well, I'm just going to do a little quick drawing here, and you just sign off on this, and I'll put them wherever you want. And then it was, well, I need to get back with you. So so that's where you really need to, when there's so many players in the kitchen, a construction manager really helps with that, but unfortunately, the bodyguard seemed to be the construction manager there. So he saved my butt a few times, trust me. And we did get invited back there. We actually did 2 wonderful projects for her. Never met her once when she was coming into town for the holidays. They had us pack everything up. They replanted the grass like we were never there, and we boarded up, and 2 weeks later we came back. So it was a very exciting project. I can go on with stories.
I love your stories. I've gotten to know these guys
time.
over the last couple of days. You have to tell the story about your first billionaire client. I think that the project was called The Gray Whale. Is that right?
Oh yeah, you have a good memory. Yeah, that was the funny. The names that I came up with was the Gray Whale. Yeah, that was. I didn't pick that name, but I forgot what was the funny thing about that.
Were you like delivering pizzas to the maids?
Yeah.
No,
that was another project actually.
The guard gate, it was pizzas, and that before it was.
Well, there's the house, there's the property manager. I mean, the exterior property manager, and then there's the house manager, and so it got really challenging at times as to who to buy pizza for and who to they think sometimes it becomes their house, so you just have to be very respectful. I mean that's the key is to respect whoever it may be. At the Mullen residence, we had an open house there, and I took the time to thank the nanny. I mean not the nanny, the housekeeper, because she just saved my butt many times because they'd fly into town stay for a week and then be off, and sometimes she was my communication to the client when they were out of town. So,
So I think what Gary's saying, it's important you never underestimate anyone on the team.
Right.
Whether it is the butler, the gardener, whoever, because they can all be of value to you because everyone has an intricate role in making the project happen and the dream come true for the client. And that's really what it's about. All of us really want to make the client happy in their lifestyle.
I got to get a lot more staff. I'll tell you that right now.
You're way understaffed.
I am way understaffed. What am I? This is ridiculous.
Wait, your mom's here today.
Yes, my mom is here.
She's one.
But working with a team and I suppose becoming popular in a sense with everybody is important, especially if you want to get that business again and again and again. But has it ever come up that you just don't want that job again? I mean, and why? What would make you not want a repeat customer? They're holding their tongues. Without saying any names, you guys.
Well, don't you think, Gary, just like a client is interviewing you, in many ways we're also interviewing them.
Right.
And it really it's a two-way street, and you can kind of sense it right away. And it's sometimes the project for various reasons, things enter into it, and it's.
Well, it's funny you asked that, because during the recession, we probably worked for a lot of clients we would have liked to have said no to. I mean, I know I have. So now that things are turning, there are people that where you would have it all documented. A construction manager is great because they really help as a general contractor to back you up. But when it's you sometimes, and the paperwork is actually signed, and the client said, "Well, I didn't know what I was signing." Mm-hmm. I mean, to where it's either you making someone wrong doesn't really make you right. It really can so how to just let them walk through with it and somehow find the money to pay for their mistake that they signed for.
Is something else.
Yeah. And doing those sort of things is how you do get repeat business, even though you may not want that repeat business with that person. Is renegotiating. I work for fairly high-powered, and they like to renegotiate, and so learning to know when the end of the job is near, that you're going to be doing some renegotiating, because that's what I found has gotten me repeat business.
And also sometimes
which is not always doesn't always feel good.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes that also takes care of the client you don't want again, because you do negotiate the contract and they're just not willing to kind of meet your demands, or not demands, but just kind of work with you on how the fees are going to be structured a little differently maybe the second time around. So things have a way of working themselves out.
What I think is fascinating, what I'm learning about your world, this is very not my world to be honest, is what a full-time job this is. You spoke a little bit before the panel today about being on call for your clients 24/7. You know, as far as if you want that repeat business, you want that relationship, you're that guy where the phone's on, and if something's happening or something's being shipped or there's some type of challenge that you're overcoming or trying to overcome, that you're on the phone. Can you get a hold of her 24/7? Is she on her speed dial? Let's just.
If she doesn't answer, I do stalk her, but that's a whole.
Texting,
Is this right? We have to
Instagram.
be 5 feet apart. Is this about the restraining order? Well, no, she's very available. I can't say I've ever had a design emergency, but if I have a question,
No, maybe when the
get
bar
back to me
stools came
quickly.
in, they were too low, and the contractor didn't raise the guest house.
Yes, we did have a contractor who I will not work with again, who put a bar in too high. And so the bar stools look like little mini stools. They look like little footstools next to the bar stool. And you had those fixed here.
Right, quickly. It was like a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So things like that do happen, but I think with a great thing like with Courtney, when something is delivered and she's so excited, she'll send me a photograph or text it to me, and I'll say, because I get so excited too, because I love design. Mm-hmm. So even though I've been doing it 23 years, it's still to see fresh colors, like when we change the palette in your home. I mean, to me, I just love it. Every day I'm seeing something new, growing with my clients. And that's really what the repeat business is about, because as they're growing, I'm growing as a designer. I'm showing them new options. And it is a lot of fun. It really is. It's stressful, but it is a lot of fun to transform spaces and homes for people. It's exciting.
To be more specific about repeat business, Gary, I think you've renovated over 6 famous Paul Williams homes for just one client. Is that right?
Oh, that's actually 3.
3.
3. That was supposed to be changed.
Okay.
Christine.
It happens in the meeting. We take a fact and
no,
then it's suddenly not a fact.
Just want to get this straight.
Yeah.
No, there was 3, yes,
3,
in
okay.
Beverly Hills. Matter of fact, I was 3/4 of the way through one for that client, and that was on Trenton, and then they bought another one on Roxbury, and they said the one on Trenton isn't large enough, and you're doing such a great job, because quality goes without saying. So quality, paying attention to them, actually how I got that job. Part of the job had already started with another contractor, and basically they interviewed me, they hired him, and he called me back like 2 months later and said, you know what, either I hire you, I'm gonna have to get a new wife. So I was kind of knight in shining armor. So by coming in there and fixing all his mistakes and proceeding on in a timely manner, and of course paying attention to budget and dealing with designer and the architect and listening, before I was even finished, we went on to Roxbury. And then it's funny, then after that they went to Hope Ranch, and at that time I didn't want to travel. And then 10 years later, they and they sold those houses and got another house on Trenton, and I just finished it for them. Matter of fact, the pictures of the traditional Paul Williams house, and I think it's after this soon, is the one I just finished for him less than a year ago on Trenton. So now he's thinking about getting another one, so I'm all for it.
We'll get up to that 6 number. It's all said and done.
But listening to both parties, the wife and the husband, and sometimes it can get difficult. Like this home here, this was is another Paul Williams, and that was for Peter and Merle Mullen. And that was just a fabulous job, but learning to keep your mouth shut was very challenging at times. It really, it was like.
In what way? What do you mean?
Well, they would jet across the world to wherever they're at, and the funny thing is, one of the parties would say, "I always answer my emails." She would never answer her emails, so we'd have to get a lot done in a short amount of time when they're back in town, and it was the dance of the husband doesn't want to do it, and the wife wants to do it, and she always gets her way. But so it was a fun joust. It was like it was so entertaining to watch and be a part of, but also very annoying because I'm just trying to build it. And so finally, it was the funniest day. She just said, he doesn't want to spend money, but all you have to do, watch this, Gary, Bugatti, 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 Bugatti. Are you going to do it? Just say Bugatti a bunch of times, Gary. I want you to say Bugatti, 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 Bugatti. And he'll say yes. And I almost, it doesn't sound very macho, but I almost peed myself. It was a fabulous job. I think I've probably done about 5 projects on their home since that. And I'm not sure where I went with all that, but it was a beautiful.
There's a real psychology to the art of the
Yes.
relationship, and figuring out the dynamics. There's so much that you kind of have to assess when going through the whole process.
Correct.
And
correct.
if you can't finesse that, I would imagine you can lose jobs and or not get repeat business.
When I started this, I just wanted to build buildings. I didn't know I had to be part therapy,
Yeah.
Right,
part
psychologist.
therapist, psychologist, a people person, private investigator who
Working with bodyguards,
bodyguards.
butlers.
But it's a fabulous, fabulous industry. I can't think of. Of course, I'd like to be a trust fund baby. I'll take that job anytime. but I can't think of anything which is really great that I'd rather do. Makes it a lot easier when I know every day that when I go to bed that this is what I'm going to do the next day, and I want to own a restaurant. And if I get discovered today, it'd be cool. I'll be an actor. I just don't think that's going to happen.
You want your own reality show? We do a lot of that at E. We can get you that.
It's just a fabulous, fun, challenging industry, and I think that it makes it easier for a repeat business also, because I want to be there. I'm not just there to make the money. I think when I put other priorities in front of that seems when this was many years ago when things really started turning for me. I didn't go to a college myself to learn all this. I just learned it in the trenches, from jackhammer to psychologist.
That's amazing. Very cool. Are we forgetting anything? How are we doing on time?
We're doing great, actually. Keep going.
Doing okay? Oh, keep going.
Well, now that I'm started, no.
15. Oh gosh, where should we pick up? We touched on it a little bit in all of that we discussed today, but maybe we should just as far as advice goes, you gave a little advice for people that are wanting to go out and establish a relationship with a designer and or a builder. What advice would you give, Monique, to people that are trying to establish relationships that last?
Well, the first thing I would say is definitely have to get in design. I'm certified, I'm licensed, NCIDQ, I went to UCLA Design School. So I can't emphasize enough getting formal training. And also I had the privilege of working for 8 years for several different designers. So I really got a chance to see, I traveled with them, I worked on a lot of luxury international hotels, and then 3.5 years very high-end clients, and kind of got a chance to really observe and work with the key designers. And then I started to feel more comfortable and confident myself as a business owner, as a designer. And like I said, and then when I met Courtney, which was so great, that was a great relationship. And then at that time I had several other clients as well, celebrity clients. And it just seemed like the harder I work on myself and the more integrity I have, and just living my life, kind of an integrated life. I have we have twins that are 10. So when a client says to me, I need a home that I can't, they're going to spill Jell-O, or this is going to happen, or Play-Doh, or the friends come over, I know what that's about. I know what it's about to have a busy life or to meet with clients, and maybe they have 20 minutes that day in between everything else they're doing, and I have to be really organized and just respect their time. So I think the main thing is it's something you have to have a passion for. It's something you can't just pretend. Whenever I've traveled to Europe or anywhere, I mean, as a designer, I've redesigned things. That's what's great about nature. Nothing is stale. Everything is organic. It's got movement, and there is design in everything. Everywhere you go, there's design. So I think if you're a person I try to be a person of integrity, work hard, love what I do, keep growing as a person as well. Then I think my clients can sense that about me. Do you agree, I hope?
Of course, absolutely.
I love that you speak about the beginning, because you mentioned, being in the trenches with a jackhammer when you got started, and, before you went to school and did all this, the early days, when I'm sure you look back at some of those first projects and maybe you go, oh, I mean, maybe you don't, but everybody starts somewhere. I mean, even with picking your designer, like some people, are petrified the first time. You're like, get that relationship, because you've never done it before, so you don't know, am I doing it right? How does this whole process work? Do you remember was Monique your first designer that you ever enlisted, or?
Well, my first house, the set decorator from my work helped me do the house, but then I wanted sort of a more grown-up house. And no, because I'd seen it, like I said. I mean, if it comes from a friend, then you get a sense of the aesthetic. It's like, oh, I love how this house feels. That's what I want. And then I knew just from talking that we were simpatico. It was really clear. I mean, I do think you know right away if it's working.
If it's a fit or not.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you feel that way, Gary?
Yes, very much so.
In those first meetings when you sit down with somebody, you can tell if it's going to go anywhere?
Well, yes and no. I've met a few people where it's like, whoa. I think we all have, actually. But that then, there was this, we all have our off days. So, sometimes it takes a few meetings, and sometimes I've actually built homes where it was more just, you become friends. You become, I mean, I try not to get too friendly. That's like rule number 2.
Is it?
Yeah, don't get too friendly, because, you need to keep that distance. Because I've found in the past that, I've had superintendents and construction managers get too friendly, and it can really, I mean, designers, everybody loves their designers. Everybody loves to hate their builder. so we walk a little bit of a tighter line. We have to watch our P's and Q's a lot more, I find. We never get recognition as much, It's always, but we really take that. And that's the secret. You take all those people and all those designers, construction managers, and bring it to, these beautiful projects that and your dreams. It can be, and then the personalities. Sometimes I'm surprised I don't drink more. But you mentioned the gray whale, and it's funny. There was a really challenging, which I had to process. That you get nervous up here. This isn't something I do all the time, but I really like it a lot. So if we can go over if you don't mind. No, but seriously, I didn't really hit it off so well with the interior designer. She's Susan Orsini from New York. I like to mention her name because she's spectacular. And so my associate, the president of my company, Dara Kiefer, they hit it off. They were like, they grew up together. So I just kind of said, okay, we'll just do a little shift here in management. And I would come every once in a while to the meetings, and she just took care of everything, and they just were best buds. And then the reason I bring that up is because of that shift, we just started another job for her, not for the same client, but for Susan Orsini in Bel Air. So that's one thing about really seeing how things are really stepping back and not taking things personal. I'm not sure what the question was, but I wanted to get that out there.
No, that's
I wanted to
great.
get that out there, but.
You were both so respected in your respective fields. Of the years that you've put into your work, is there or are there any like key highlight moments, the aha moments that have meant the most along the way?
Well, I mean, there's so many. It's like when a client, or when, like when I was with Courtney and we were in your home and upstairs in the bedroom, we were both jumping up because the Khotan rug was so perfect for the room. It was like from Agajan. It was like, this is so perfect. And it's just that feeling of leaving a client's home and feeling so, I just feel really good about the contribution that I've done and walking away knowing that they're loving their space and mainly that they're enjoying their home. They're not afraid to go into their rooms. Or I've been in clients' home, the house in Buster Keaton Estate, having meetings with the client in the living room. I really tell the clients, just use your home, enjoy your home, set the table, use your dining room every day. Why are you waiting just for Thanksgiving or Passover? Enjoy it today. That's light the candles tonight, and just enjoy what you do have.
I have like 23 of them. Can I go through them all? No.
Starting with 23. Yeah.
No, I have two. It's funny. It goes back a long ways. It goes back to when I was a framing contractor, and it's a real rough. The smell of lumber and men running around screaming and no shirts and tattoos. And when I got my first forklift, that was awesome. My load. You know what I mean? It was like the Porsche of forklifts, but
What year was that?
That was a while back. That was a while ago. I've been a framing contractor. I was a framing contractor since I was 26, so I'd say that was 20 years ago. But I just had to think here. I didn't want to be shoot from the hip on that. And then the other one was one of the Mullen residents, when they were nice enough to open up their home and let me and Karen Hudson have a book signing for a Paul Williams book, which that house, the Mullins residence in it. And there was over 300 people, and it was like kind of a very humbling experience, starting from a jackhammer to being honored just to open their doors to 300 people. I mean, come on, and that was just a very special moment. And then saying something to all the guests and thanking them for coming, and then thanking the nanny. I mean, not the nanny. I did that again. The housekeeper and my associates, and their personal assistant, and looking at the pictures, that was the most recent. The late one was the forklift, and the most recent. So I'm sure there's more, as you say. I mean,
yes.
But those are the first two that
But
came to
also,
mind.
too, like here we're at the PDC, we can't forget that all the vendors, all the showrooms, do contribute to making the dream come true, because without the showrooms, like someone like I see Jim from Cachet over there, just without the showrooms, like last night we were at Jasper, just without the showrooms doing their part, contributing and hearing designers. I had an intimate lunch yesterday with Robert Allen Beacon-Hill, and they were just discussing what they can do to help the industry more, help designers, so as we can work more efficiently, which then trickles down to our clients, better price point, better value for their clients.
And then people kind enough like Courtney to come and sing your praises.
Exactly.
So that's awesome for you to take
So
on.
it keeps everybody working.
Yes.
It keeps the whole, which is great, all of us, which
Everybody.
we appreciate that.
Comes around, goes around.
Yes.
Do we have time to take a couple questions?
Yes, actually, I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Christine.
Comment/question. So Monique and I are friends, but that aside, so we went to the Buster Keaton Estate for this tour for the LA Conservancy. I'm not sure it is working again. How wonderful. Okay. And I was really thrilled because I didn't know in going there, I think I had forgotten that you had designed this estate. And so we went there to benefit the Conservancy. And it was so remarkably beautiful in every single detail. And I was really sort of daunted by the way you set off the artwork and the furnishings in a subtle, elegant, historic fashion. It was sort of magnificent.
Thank
So
you.
I wanted to say that, number one.
Thank you.
And second of all, I wanted to say, it seems to me the art of repeat business also is about picking a designer who is versatile. And the fact that you've owned more than one home and you work with the same designer, it seems that she must have quite an ability to be flexible and understand the personality of each home. Would that be key?
Well, that's key, and also it's such a joy to work with Monique that I get excited when it's time to redo the fabrics, when it's time to, we just go have lunch. We meet here now. It's a shorthand now. We meet here at the design center and we go into the showroom, so she's not like bringing pictures back and forth, and we can do a room in an afternoon. So it's really fun. I get to be more part of it now. Like, she'll take me into the fabric store and I don't just pass out from seeing all the fabric. She'll direct me. She'll direct me to the right place so I'm not taking the wrong things. But it's evolved, so it's much more of a partnership now. It's great.
Any other questions?
This for you.
My name is Juan Fortesa Designs. I have the great luxury of working for a client from London that I've worked for now 28 years. This is our 8th project for him. We're designing a French chateau, country style, in Tiburon, Marin County. Fantastic opportunity. I feel so grateful for that longevity of return clientele. And every project is totally different, from his boutiques in London to redoing a 200-year-old house for him there in London, and then all his Beverly Hills work. My question for Gary is that we're presently interviewing various builders, and we definitely want to have a project manager. We are definitely looking to have someone look after everyone. Can you give me some clue as to how much time, what percentage of the day do you think that the construction management team has to be involved with this project? My client is asking for 100% of the time, and I think that that is not necessarily what should happen. What is your opinion?
Well, I guess that has a lot to do with the size of the job and then what general contractor you hire. I mean, there's some general contractors in town, I believe, that I'm going to take this off because I want to face you. and where I don't really feel that you would need somebody full-time. And it depends on the, how much money's involved in the project, too. So I'm not sure, to answer your question, the safest way is 100% of the time. But depending on who you hire, the general contractor, I mean, if you would need someone 100% of the time. Because a lot of their job is also to babysit the money or to manage the money, to process the payment request, to process the change orders, to really, so that depends on how tight the documents are also. So I find too, if a client wants something, if a client's really pushing a subcontractor or pushing a material, I found the best thing over the years is I go with it, because when I, in the past, have pushed something else, then they keep a closer eye on it. If it goes wrong, you're screwed. So I go with, if it's going to fit also. So me personally, I would, if they're pushing 100%, I would go with 100%.
Thank you.
Good question. Anybody else? Over here on the wall. Over here. Where'd that mic go?
I can be loud. Pat, this actually is for you.
Oh. Oh, that's so sweet. Well, it's funny. Can you guys still hear me? It's funny you bring that up, because I was honored when I got the call that, Christine and company were like, hey, can you come on behalf of me and do this panel? And I was like, I've never even worked with an interior designer. I've been in my first real home for only a year. So I've been just scrap by scrap by. I was talking with Monique about it a little bit. I mean, I've gone sheerly on instinct so far. So I think I have decent taste. I just need a real expert to come into my life and rock my world. Are you that guy?
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's talk afterwards.
Okay. Lovely. Thank you. Am I speaking like I don't know what I'm talking about? Is that why you asked? Okay, good. Okay. I had to study. That was sweet. Thank you. Anything
There's
else?
your hand back there.
Yes.
I'm probably loud enough too. I've worked just enough with the film people that have all these people that you're talking about.
That where I get stuck is getting to the person that makes the decision. What do you do how do you break through that? I mean, is that even a question when there's, you've got the client and you can only see them for like 15 and a half minutes at a shot, and then they've got 2 layers of assistance and no decisions are being made, and it just sort of makes me steer clear of the industry. Is there a secret to that, or is that just part of maturity that I don't have yet?
Who wants to take that one? You must have encountered that.
Well, I'm on a
little
job
bit.
right now with
Right.
this very moment with an actress that I'm signed to the 20 pages of things, so I can't really say who right now. And she's actually using, or the designer is her stylist also. But to make a long story short, you just have to be patient, and you have to, keep calling, keep sending requests for information. And sometimes the job stalls. It doesn't move as fast as you want. You can't take it personal, as a contractor, I document it, so when all of a sudden they're saying, well, why did this take this long? You don't be afraid to call. It's patience, and it does take a while. I mean, if I would have had this client 15 years ago, we were in this bathroom today, and I was going back and forth with the designer, and I was like scratching my head. I says, well, if you would just give me the documentation, we wouldn't be standing here for the 21st time. But I couldn't say that, so then now I'm actually drawing. You wanted to say it but then you don't get the repeat business. She runs to this person, and next thing you know, the evil contractor. So what I do is now I just start, I get a detail, and I just start drawing the drawings, and then I submit my bill. So you just have to find what's going to make it work to sort through it all, and paperwork and patience is the key.
Patience. Over here? Right here.
Now that you've established yourself, obviously, how do you go about marketing your business? Is it strictly through referrals, or do you find that your website is still a great tool, or how do you do that?
Well, actually, there was another speaker at the Design Center not so long ago from John Arrow, and with the John Arrow thing, and there was Finton who spoke. Who I found him very fascinating, and there's branding. Right now I'm here because I went ahead and took some of my money and hired a wonderful publicist, Christine Anderson, who's like, and she's all about repeat business too. I mean, it's the phone calls. When you get the call, and when I call her at night, sometimes I get a call back. Probably 50% of the time I do, and so you have to sometimes invest money that you don't see good returns for. I mean, right away. I mean, not a good return. I think I said that wrong. It's a great return. Everybody knows what I meant, right?
Yeah.
You're awesome. You walk on water. No.
Yeah, exactly. Christine is awesome.
But no, you take those chances. And referrals are great. It is all about referrals. But we just left the worst recession since the Depression, and I don't mean to toot my horn, but I will. But I'm humble in it. They were the best years of my life. I mean, in business, not the best years of my life, but I say we're kind of the best years of my life because that goes to my children, though. Can we talk about children? No. Can I show you some pictures?
And Monique, for you?
I would say definitely, I remember, just a few years ago, I spent the time to put together my website. I revamped my website. I added Twitter. I added Facebook. I spent the time to get pictures of my work that I've done over the last 15 years. It took a lot of time, spent a lot of time on my logo, the graphics. It was kind of a tedious process, but now when I refer someone to my website, I have confidence that my website looks like it should. It does reflect my work today, and for whatever reason, the last few years, I've just 4 or 5 clients who have come back to me. I mean, clients who just, it's all referrals. It really is. I mean, your work speaks for itself. And I think you have to let people know that you're interested in referrals. If you happen to know someone, current client that you're working with, you say, oh, this was so great. If you ever your neighbor or someone else is also going to be doing their home or something, please keep me in mind. I really appreciate referrals. And you really treat your referrals with kid gloves. I mean, you're so thankful when a great client like Courtney, let's say, refers me to a best friend, or someone refers me to a best friend that they've been friends with for 20 years, because that's a real reflection. The fact that they were happy, they refer me their friend, and then it's another friend. But it's just really spending the time with your website, getting to know the different showrooms, treating each client really well so they want to come back to you.
And get out there. I mean, get out there and, do these, come to design centers, come to the John Arrow engagements here. I mean, just get out there and meet and greet.
And very quickly, I'm sorry, do either of you blog? Do you do anything on the internet as part of your marketing, or is it strictly just word of mouth and doing social events?
Word of mouth and social.
Yes.
I find
thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, fortunately, Chris Arvin is amazing, and he is just, he has magical with the Facebook and things that I don't have the patience to do. It's just not my forte. I'm just in the world of design. So it's great because someone like Chris, who is there taking a picture, looking around, and he can kind of assess the situation, and then he puts it into a few words on the Facebook, which is always very helpful to kind of keep things going.
A couple in the back of the room and here and on the wall.
Who first?
Hi, I'm Wanda Wen. I'm from Sulip. We're a new tenant in the Pacific Design Center, and this the whole interior design business is new to us. Where we do paper, but I'm sitting here and I'm really fascinated by everything that you talk about, and I'm looking at these beautiful pictures on the screen, and I'm just curious, why has not the interior design community embraced stationery for the new homes? I mean, I see some beautiful architecture, and I feel like, you know, interior design is so much about attention to detail. And I feel as though having stationery for all these homes is just, it's like the most ultimate detail. And so I'm just curious, why has that not happened?
Well, I think now that you brought it to my attention, it will happen. And number two, actually, when I first started my business 15 years ago or 16 years ago, I did actually go to your shop, and I spent the money to get the hard stock with a beautiful Celadon custom color green, and I used a European card, and that was actually a really turning point in my business, because when I would hand out your card, it was a card of class. So I think part of it is possibly even sending out little goodie bags or something that I could show to a client. A different way of marketing to designers, so I would have a product to bring to someone like Courtney and say, oh, I just got this, look how great this is. Because in a way it is a dying art because of everything, people are just sending emails. But I think a great idea would be note cards by the phone. Some clients have
Absolutely.
10, 15 different phones, and each one could have a beautiful case that would color coordinate, of course. You know, beautiful alligator. I'm already designing it in my head. Next to the flowers.
Keep going.
So I think there's definitely a market for you. I think it's just how you decide to promote yourself, and maybe being in the design center is a great idea, because before you were across the street next to Murray's. At least that's where you were when I was.
Right.
When I
Yeah, we
retained
just
your
moved
services.
here. Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
can talk about it. I'm happy to integrate that into my design.
Oh
Incorporate
yeah,
it.
I mean, I see a lot of possibility, but I think as an interior designer, I just think that is sort of like just the best icing on the cake that you could do for your client, to have personal stationery with their new address and you know, an image of their home that you just designed. Anyways, thanks.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm an interior designer, and my question is, how did you get your very first client? And also, how about the biggest mistake you've ever made that you learned the most from?
Oh, that's a low blow. I have a lot of, no. Yeah.
Well, actually,
Interior
how I got
designer.
my first client is first I was willing to reduce my fee. Number one. Number one. And number two, I was really hustling, putting it out there that I wanted to work. I was independent. Remember, I went to UCLA Design School. I'd worked for designers for 8 years, so I had a really good business sense of how to organize a project. I worked on international hotels in Yokohama, Japan, Atlantic City, the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And also at the beginning, there wasn't a job that was too small for me. For example, a client who turned out, she asked me her opinion, wasn't even a client, about a coffee table. And her sofa was 8 feet and the coffee table was 9 feet, and right there I could see there was a problem. So I offered to help her, and then I even helped her make the return, and she wasn't a client yet, so I didn't make any money on it. And then after that, I designed 5 homes for them. So you never really know where the client's gonna come. And I think if you're open to it and you kind of take your ego out of it, and there isn't a job that's too small at the beginning, because that's really how you start building your reputation. And at least, I mean, that was successful for me. I didn't go there with the intention of doing that. I just went there because I wanted to keep working, because I love design. And that, like I said, that turned into 5 homes. So. Do you have a question? Yes.
Okay. I know, Gary, you've had over 10 press clips recently in Wall Street Journal, LA Times, LA
The question, can you hear me? Just because she didn't have the mic, was that he's been recently in the press quite a bit lately. I'm sorry, the LA Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Confidential, and whatnot. How has that affected your business?
It's good for my ego when I show my children. No, actually, it's been spectacular to get the attention I've been getting. Actually, I got a beautiful home I'm going to be bidding that came from the Wall Street Journal. I didn't tell you this. It's for a new home in Venice. Because I'm building a home in Venice. I'm just wrapping it up. And I said, well, you're in New York. How'd you find me? And he goes, well, I was reading about that awesome closet. Not closet, dressing room. Excuse me. So it's nice for it's been nice for business, and it's been nice for my ego.
Coming from the trade side, I've worked with Monique for 15 years. She is a consummate professional. She is the most humble person that I've worked with in this industry.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
That's adorable.
Thank you. Thank you. Like I was saying before, it is the manufacturers, it's the vendors, it's the showroom reps that work really hard, that as a designer you're calling, screaming, saying, where is it, where is it? Because you're hearing it from the client on the other end. They've waited just way too long for something. I mean, sometimes it just crosses a line. And you get, as a designer, I get so frustrated because I can't control if there's a storm in the Midwest or something happens and the client just can't get the fabric or we just can't get it on time. It just breaks your heart. So the vendors put up with a lot of patience of screaming, ranting, crazy, lunatic designers, and then it all happens. But
That probably also teaches you to never overpromise, because if you excitedly want to get Courtney something in a month, but realistically it's 2 months. You have to kind of gauge that, I imagine.
well, I think at the beginning I had a tendency to do that, to please the clients, and now you just speak the truth, be honest, work hard, and then just
The rest takes care of itself.
Exactly.
Anybody else?
Hi, I'm Marie Duran, manager of Ferguson in Santa Monica, and we do plumbing, lighting, and appliances. My question to you is what really makes a showroom stand out to you? What drives you to go back to the showroom? What gives us the repeat business from you?
Chocolate, goodie bags, facial. Actually, I would say ease of use. When you go in there and I look around a showroom and I think to myself, is it of the standard that I would want to bring my client to? Like someone like Courtney, would I want her to come into the showroom? So a lot has to do with, I walk into a showroom, is it dated? Does it look fresh? Is there something that's inspiring? Is it inviting? Is it something where sometimes even something so small as a showroom will have a candle lit so it smells nice, or they have some kind of presentation of maybe a new selection of a new product. Also, the parking is a big factor. You have to be, that's a factor. So I think definitely if you have a rapport with someone who works in the showroom, then as a designer, you feel more comfortable going back there because you walk in and you know someone like Katie is going to take care of you when you go in there, for instance. So I would say those are all factors.
Thank you.
Yes.
This is for Courtney, actually. Courtney, a lot of people think that what we do as designers looks easy, I could do that. So after having gone through this process of doing so many homes, working with an expert, do you have a different perception of the value that we bring, that we have studied, and there's more to it than just picking fabrics and figuring out colors?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that Monique does when we work together is she sets up the space. Like I have a huge living space in my current house, and I would never have known how to set it up, and she set it up into 2 separate spaces. So I never would have known how to do that. I would have had like a couch over here, then a table over here. Wouldn't have made sense. So just understanding that is a lot. I wouldn't know how to do it, and I did in my way back first house before I knew Monique. I recovered a couch about 4 times because I didn't know. Like I can look at Monique and go, I like this pattern. She'll go, I've seen it big. It gets too busy, or that's going to be too dark. Like I didn't have her perspective, having seen so many fabrics 1,000 times. I say, could I make drapes out of this? And she could say, no, it'll overwhelm the room. Or yes, that'll be gorgeous. So you need that perspective of somebody who is trained and has that eye.
Bless you. In the back, we have Mr. in the back. Oh, against the wall.
I mentioned with McCoy Construction, I want to praise Gary because a lot of projects come our way and sometimes you can't take them on. So we'll call Gary and have him take them on, which is, everybody knows Peter McCoy's standards are extremely high. And for us to turn it over to Gary says a lot about Gary. So I just want to
Thank you. Thank you. Well, that was awesome.
There's a lot of love in this room. A lot of love. I like it. Anybody else before we wrap things up? I love what a full room it is. People standing on the walls. You guys, I want to add anything else before we say farewell? You were great. See no reason to be nervous. You guys are awesome. Anything?
That's it.
Thank you so
Yay.
much.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you so much.